If every country tried to pay back all its debt at the same time, the global financial system wouldn't stabilize. It would freeze. Because in a strange way, the system doesn't just depend on debt. It depends on debt not being fully repaid. Right now, the world is sitting on hundreds of trillions of dollars in debt. Governments owe, corporations owe, households owe. But here's the part that's easy to miss. Much of that debt is owed to each other. So when we ask, who owes whom, the answer isn't simple. It's circular. A government issues bonds to raise money. Investors buy those bonds. Those investors might be pension funds, managing retirement savings, or banks, using deposits from everyday people, or even other governments. So a country's debt is often someone else's asset. Now zoom out. One country holds another country's debt. That second country holds debt from a third. Banks hold government bonds. Governments backstop banks. Funds hold everything in between. It becomes a web. And inside that web, everyone is both a borrower and a lender. This is where the story usually gets simplified. We're told some countries are debtors, and others are creditors, as if one side owes and the other collects. But in reality, even the biggest creditors are deeply tied into the same system. Take a country that exports heavily. It earns foreign currency. It invests that money into government bonds, often from other countries. Safe assets, reliable returns. So its savings become someone else's debt. Now flip that. The country issuing those bonds relies on that incoming money to fund its spending, its economy, its deficits. So the creditor depends on the debtor, just as much as the debtor depends on the creditor. That's the first hidden layer. Dependence goes both ways. Now add another layer. Debt doesn't just sit still. It moves, repackaged, used as collateral. A government bond might be held by a bank today, used in a financial transaction tomorrow, and end up backing another loan somewhere else. The same piece of debt, supporting multiple parts of the system. Which means if something goes wrong, the impact doesn't stay contained. It spreads. And here's where the math gets uncomfortable. Most debt is issued with interest, which means over time, more money is owed than originally created. So for all debts to be repaid, there would need to be more money in the system than currently exists, which creates a quiet contradiction. The system requires repayment, but also requires continuous borrowing to function smoothly. New debt helps service old debt. New money keeps the system liquid. So instead of being eliminated, debt is rolled over, extended, replaced. A bond matures. The new one is issued. A loan ends. Another begins. The system doesn't aim to be debt-free. It aims to be stable. And stability depends on one fragile thing: confidence. As long as investors believe debts will be honored, they keep lending. They keep buying. The system keeps moving. But if that confidence cracks, even slightly, the dynamics change fast. Interest rates rise, borrowing becomes harder, refinancing becomes uncertain, and suddenly, what looked manageable starts to feel heavy. This is why debt crises don't build slowly. They reveal themselves quickly. Now look at the public narrative. We hear about responsible borrowing, fiscal discipline, sustainable debt levels. And those ideas matter, but they don't fully capture the reality. Because the system isn't just about how much debt exists. It's about how interconnected that debt is. A default in one place can affect balance sheets somewhere else. A missed payment here can tighten credit somewhere far away. The system reacts, adjusts, sometimes overreacts. And this creates a strange balance. On one side, debt fuels growth. It allows governments to spend, businesses to expand, people to invest in homes, education, opportunities. On the other, it creates obligations that don't go away. Future income is already committed. Future resources already promised. So growth today often comes at the cost of constraints tomorrow. And yet the system keeps expanding. Because stopping isn't easy. If borrowing slows too much, money creation slows, spending drops, growth weakens. But if borrowing accelerates too fast, imbalances grow. So the system walks a narrow path, always balancing, never fully stable. Now zoom out one more time. At a global level, there is no single outside to the system. There's no external entity that the world owes debt to. The system is closed, which means collectively, we owe it to ourselves, but not evenly. Some hold more assets, some carry more liabilities, some benefit more from the flow of interest, others carry more of the burden. And over time, those differences compound. Which brings us back to the original question. Who actually owes whom? On paper, everyone owes someone. But in practice, the lines blur, because every liability is someone else's asset. Every payment is someone else's income. Risk is shared, even if it doesn't feel that way. So the system holds together, not because debts are small, but because they're interconnected. And as long as that web holds, the system functions. But if it starts to unravel, even in one corner, the question changes. It's no longer just about who owes whom. It becomes something more unsettled. Who can actually afford for the system to stop working?